Welcome one and all to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. We focus on great original music, both present and past, from the western New England area. And that's music from New Haven, Connecticut, and thereabouts all the way through western Massachusetts and southern Vermont. And I'm Tobey LaRoche here this week with Mark Sherry and our special guest, Steve Rodgers. The song intro to our show was African Eyes by the late great sax player and Grammy Award winner Charles Neville and his son Khalif Neville from Huntington, Massachusetts.
So, Steve, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And the reason that you're here is because we have a special show that will actually spotlight your recording studio called Tiny Bunker Studio in Hamden, Connecticut. Just done some renovations there, and your client base is growing, and you got some great music, which you're going to share with us today.
Yes, sir. It's going to be fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you tell us just a little bit, Steve, about Tiny Bunker and your sort of philosophy for recording and what you think, sort of you bring to the table that maybe sets you apart from other studios?
Sure. First of all, I'm not really sure what might set me apart from other studios. I've never been the kind of guy who tries to compete with anybody. And in fact, I never really intended to open a studio at all. I sort of built a studio, in a corner of my kids' old playroom downstairs during COVID, just so I could exercise all the songs out of my brain that were happening. And, I'd gone through a bit of a rough period before that. I'd owned nightclubs, The Space in Hamden for 15 years and, sort of was coming to understand the new life that I had. And part of that was, writing a song a week for a year during the COVID period. And then I put out an album and, a whole bunch of people came to me after that album came out and said, could you record us too? And I, started saying, well, I guess so. It was never, something that I intended to do, but it sort of organically happened and organically grew over the last 5 years into something I could have never imagined. I work with all levels of clients. I work with folks who are just getting started in their music journey. And, and I work with folks who are, seasoned veterans who've been in the music scene 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm just so thankful to be able to, get up every day and help people create and bring their songs to life and bring the sounds that they're hoping for to life. And, really getting into the brain of the artists that I'm working with, sort of to find out, where they're coming from, where their song's coming from, what makes them tick, where they've been, what experiences, in the recording studio in the past have been good for them and what hasn't worked for them, because I don't want to make the same mistakes, that they may have encountered, before. I think that trying all ideas in the studio is really important. I have this sort of saying, there is no bad idea in the studio, although once in a while there is. But I think until you try something, you won't know if it's going to work. And so, with every one of my clients, I'm just trying to really get inside of their brain and figure out what kind of patina they want to put on their music.
I think you've answered the question of what sets you, apart from other studios possibly, because, the whole idea of, how you approach this and I think your collaboration with the artists just to me seems just so on such an organic level. And I think you're really in touch with your clients. And so, I think that's really important. A lot of people feel that's one of the most important things that they look for in trying to find a place to record. So I think your approach is great. And let's listen to some music that's come out of this. And as you mentioned, you are, an accomplished recording artist on your own, and you have a great history back with your band Mighty Purple, where you had quite a bit of success and were touring regionally throughout New England, and so you've got your own resume there too. So let's start out with a couple of tunes you've recorded very recently. Frank Critelli and James and Mila starting out with their tune Spark.